All right, looks like we're live. No, Pete's losing it. Let me put you on the big screen there, Pete, so that you can. There we go. Yeah. So today, this is the Lovecraft eZine video cast, podcast, pitch session, whatever. And today is December the 13th, 2015. Before I forget, because I always start talking about other things and I always forget, Matt, the editor of A Lonely and Curious Country, is giving away 2 copies of A Lonely and Curious Country.
Oh, one of those and one of another.
Sorry?
One copy of this, one copy of this.
Oh, I got it. Okay, so 1 copy of Lonely and Curious Country and 1 copy of The Idolaters of Cthulhu by, I know this, but I can't remember. Oh, Blaylock. David Blaylock. Right. How is that?
It's not bad. You know, I honestly can't say it stands out in the avalanche of anthologies, but I am enjoying it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, great. Hey, I think Wayne June just joined us.
Here I am. How are you?
Hey, good. How are you doing?
I'm doing well.
Do you know any of these people here? If not, I will introduce you.
Introduce me.
All right. So the guy in the hat and the beard, that's Joe Pulver, writer, editor. Editor Matthew Carpenter.
Hey, Matt.
And Pete Rawlick, author of Reanimators and a shitload of short stories. I guess you can say that about Joe, too. Most of you guys. Rick Lay, author of Shadows from the Opera. Am I remember that right?
Shadows of the Opera.
Shadows of the Opera, I'm sorry. And that's Salome Jones, editor.
Hello.
Actually an editor of this, Cthulhu Live, and other books. It's just one of them.
Awesome.
Guys, Wayne June. Wayne, why did I ask you on the show again? Oh, you're right. You do really cool audiobooks. How are you?
I'm doing well. Everybody good?
I'm good. I'm good. So I guess my first question, well, you know what? I want to tell a little story that you don't know I'm going to tell, Wayne, because...
Uh-oh.
Yeah, you're in trouble. Because we've been conversing through Facebook for, I guess, maybe, 6 months or a year, something like that.
Yeah.
And now we're meeting more or less face-to-face. But I started Lovecraft eZine. It's next month is coming up on 5 years. And before that, I was in real estate for about 15 years and enjoyed it, made some decent money. My wife worked with me for a long time in real estate, too. And 2 things happened. I got sick, and the economy went to hell. And so we decided to move down here to Texas. And that's when I did that, I started Lovecraft eZine. But right before that, because of those 2 things, especially me being sick, 6 or 8 months before we moved, I got a temporary job delivering pizzas, which I've done before because we were really hurting for money. So here I am with my cane and, delivering pizzas and everything. But the reason why I've said all that is to say this. While I was doing all that on these cold winter nights in Iowa, delivering pizzas to people, I would be listening to Lovecraft stories read by a certain Mr. Wayne June.
Wow.
So it made kind of a dark time.
Even
A
darker.
lot brighter. No, well, darker in some ways, but brighter in the ways that count. So, that's I think an example of how you can touch someone's life and never be aware of it, never think maybe what you're doing might affect someone in that way, but it affected me that way, so I appreciate it.
Oh, that's great to hear. I've been a Lovecraft fan. I stumbled on him when I was like 10 years old. Very precocious kid, and used to read all my dad's science fiction books and horror books and like that there. So I stumbled on Lovecraft, and he just immediately captured me. I mean, the whole pessimistic philosophy of existence Just as a 10-year-old just captured me. And I've never grown up. I'm still as pessimistic as ever. And it's glad to hear that I was able to share him to the extent that it would touch someone else. That's great.
What was your first Lovecraft book?
I think I had I don't remember the exact title. I had a paperback with a lot of short stories in it. And the first one that I remember striking me was Cool Air, if you're familiar with that story.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, and that just creeped me out to the max. So.
You've done audio. Have you done? I'm trying to remember the name of that series. I'm sorry that you did. What was the title of that series that you did? The Lovecraft books.
Dark Worlds of H.P. Lovecraft.
That's right. Dark Worlds of H.P. Lovecraft. Yeah, how many Lovecraft stories have you read? How many did that cover approximately?
There were 6 volumes. Each volume was about 3.5 hours long. So I did a number of them. I haven't tallied them up lately. I don't know how many I've done. I think the longest one I did was in volume 6. I did At the Mountains of Madness in its entirety. And the rest were short stories, or the shorter stories.
Do you have a favorite Lovecraft story?
I'm still partial to Cool Air. I also like Pickman's Model. That creeps me out. They did a Twilight Zone episode. Was it Twilight Zone or was it
Night Gallery?
What was it?
It was Night Gallery.
Right, Night Gallery. They did a Night Gallery episode of Pickman's model, which was not really a bad interpretation. So.
How did Dark Worlds of H.P. Lovecraft happen? Since you were such a Lovecraft fan, did you approach whoever put that out, or did they approach you, or can you talk about that a little bit?
I forget who thought of it first, but I'd had an ongoing relationship with Audio Realms, publisher down in North Carolina, audio publisher, a good friend of mine, Fred Godsmark. And we'd been just doing small things here and there, talking it over, and the idea of Lovecraft came up, and I just left on it. I guess he thought of it first, and it was great. I have threatened for the longest time to pick that up again and really do the entire Lovecraft catalog, but that's one of those things that hasn't happened yet, but I guess I have to see how much interest there is in it, really, if it would be worth doing the entire thing. That would be an endeavor. It would take some time.
Yeah, it would. You've done other horror, I believe. And I think you've done Poe, I think I read, and some other things. Can you talk about those as well? What else have you done that people could check out? Maybe they were only familiar with you, watching or listening to this show, only familiar with your reading the Lovecraft stories, but, what else could they seek out?
Well, I've always got something in production. I've been working through a website called ACX. Now, I don't know if you're familiar with that. It's the Audiobook Creation Exchange, and it's put together by the company by the name of Audible, which is it's really the leading retailer for downloadable audiobooks on the internet. And they're owned by Amazon, and they've pretty much got a corner on the market, and they put together this site called ACX, where producers, narrators, authors, publishers, rights owners in general can all get together and put forth proposals to each other, and when something comes together, they publish it on Audible and iTunes and Amazon, of course, and that's worked out really well. I've got a bunch of stuff up on Audible now. Anybody who's interested in any kind of horror stuff, that's the kind of thing I generally gravitate to, and it's on Audible. You can do a search. Wayne June. I've been doing one series in particular with an author whose stuff I've really been enjoying. His name is Jason Brandt, Brant, and he's got a trilogy that we just finished a while ago. He's actually adding a fourth book to that, and I have another one of his in production. Just generally, it's a bunch of horror stuff. That's what I.
Yeah, are you talking about John Prescott?
I'm sorry.
Are you talking about John Prescott, the author you were just talking about?
No, I've done some of John Prescott's stuff as well, though.
Yeah.
He's sort of an evangelical end of days apocryphal vampire werewolf horror story monster writer guy. It's really fascinating stuff. It manages to piss people off, no matter whether they're believers or unbelievers, with his interpretation of the Book of Revelation. And so,
yeah, I know him a little bit, and I haven't read those books, but I kind of got the feeling that it could piss off a lot of people, whether they're religious or not. And
yeah, absolutely.
that said, it sounds like they're really good books. Let's see. So I'm looking at Audible. Looks like all the Dark Worlds of H.P. Lovecraft are on Audible.
Yeah, I think they're up there. Yep.
For people who haven't listened to those. Huh. Okay.
Beautiful too, because there's a female narrator by the name of June Wayne who has her stuff up on Audible now. So you may end, you may end up getting her. I haven't heard her, so with a name like that, she's got to be good, though, right?
Yeah, with a name like that. So I got a couple questions from the audience, but before I get to that, I have another question. To me, please correct me if I'm wrong, but your conversational voice sounds a bit different than your reading voice, comparing it to me listening to the Lovecraft stories that you've read.
Yeah.
Is that a conscious thing? And if so, what do you do to prepare for that? What kind of mindset?
It's not so much a conscious thing as a time of day thing. I tend to record early in the morning, and that's when I have my real baritone bass pitch going.
Right.
And it's plus it's affected to the point of you want to kind of translate that atmosphere of dread and fear and horror and hopelessness and despair, and I guess I make an effort not to carry that into my conversations, but it's a persona that I adopt, and it's a mental thing, and as far as the physical aspect of it goes, like I said, it's early in the morning.
Yeah. Guys, please feel free to jump in if you have questions.
Yeah, I think Mike's falling, not Mike, and he's falling asleep over there.
Who? Joe?
Yeah.
Yeah, we have to wake up Joe.
I'm just listening.
We have to wake up Joe from time to time.
Joe, wake up.
I'm fully awake. I'm just listening.
Joe's
I try
just
to be polite. I try to be social. And people want to wake up the bear. Well, you know.
See, I warned you.
Thomas Rowley wants to know, Wayne, and I'm reading his comment now, are you recording something you did privately, or is this a job you hired? Okay, I think we discussed that. Okay, I'm sorry. Let me go to the next question. Brett wants to know about your recording. Do you go to a studio? Do you do it at home? Do you have a studio at home? How does that work?
Well, I've got a home studio built. I've been a musician for 40 years, so I've always had recording equipment around. And starting in the late 90s, I started to get an interest in to be honest, an interest in getting off the road, and
Yeah.
if I could make a living without getting out of my bathrobe. So that's basically what I did. I
We have
built up
all
my
been
home
there.
studio, learned how to use the gear, learned the software, and basically started from there. I've been an audiobook fan for a long time, really. In the 1970s, I was at the library and I picked up an LP, a record on vinyl of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein.
Hmm.
So the idea of you know uh, an audio book had always been in the back of my mind. That's basically it. I generally work from home. I do go out to other studios, once in a blue moon, but I prefer to be here where I can stay in my pajamas.
Mhm.
That's
Now,
the
you
dream.
mentioned.
That's why most of us do this, right? Sorry, Joe. Go ahead.
Oh, no, you mentioned being a musician. What you're recording, are these just straight narratives, just vocal, or that you add sound effects? Are there any music?
Sometimes I'll put incidental music in just to intro
Okay.
the book or a chapter, but I'm not really into the audio theater aspect of it. I'm
Okay.
more of a, I don't know if you call it a purist, but just great narrative, I think, is the way to go.
No, that's cool. I was just curious. That's all. And see, I'm actually awake. I'm listening.
My man Joe.
Do you have some favorites as far as audiobooks? Favorite books and or favorite readers?
And you just as far as content goes, I like anything and everything. It's like what I read. I like anything and everything. I tend to gravitate toward performing the horror genre. I guess I'm just naturally a creep, but I do have certain narrators too that I look up to. There's a guy, I don't know if you're familiar with him, named Frank Muller, who he actually passed away around 2000, 2002, something like that, I think. But he's got a body of work out there that's great. He reads a lot of Stephen King stuff, and he also, has read Dickens, and he reads mysteries, and just crosses all genres, and he's really great. Frank Muller, Muller.
You said you look up to him. In what way? You like the way he reads?
Yeah, he's really got a grasp of how to, how can I put it? When you're delivering an audiobook, when you're doing a performance like that, there's a very fine line where you have to perform to a certain extent to get across the characters, the mood, um, uh, get the mood of the piece across, but you want to remain invisible. You don't want to do anything that would make the person listening to the book draw their attention to you. In other words, to me. Uh, the work itself has to be the focus. So to be able to tread that line, you make a lot of mistakes along the way, learning how to do that. And from what I've heard of Frank Muller's work, he never made those mistakes. You'll be listening to a piece, and just the attention never goes exactly to him. He always does exactly what is called for. There's another narrator. He's an actor named Edward Herman, Herrmann.
Oh, yeah.
Also does great work.
Played Franklin Delano Roosevelt.
Yes. Yep.
Mm.
He does fiction as well, and he does that great. There's another guy who does a lot of science fiction stuff. He was an actor, been on TV. I think he was on Star Trek: The Next Generation. His name's Rene Auberjonois.
Yes.
Oh yeah,
Otto on Deep Space Nine.
yeah. I know who you're talking about.
He was in Benson.
He's also a great storyteller. You know, he can take you out of your world and put you into the author's world just seamlessly. Terrific.
You know, I've been thinking, it really is a talent. It sounds like something that's so simple. Okay, open up the book and start reading. But it's really not that simple at all. I was listening to, I'm a big fan of the Jack Reacher series, as I've mentioned on the show probably
Absolutely.
1,000 times. In his newest book, I don't recall the name of the audio guy, of the reader, but I've got a membership at audible.com. I get two credits a month for a pretty low monthly fee, which is great because I love audiobooks like you. And I was listening to the latest Jack Reacher book, and he's got such an annoying way of reading. And as much as I love Jack Reacher, I got through 2 chapters, and I had to turn it off. I just couldn't listen anymore.
Yeah, it really makes a personal connection with listeners. You know, people either love you or hate you, and there's plenty that hate me. So if the reader somehow makes a connection with you, I don't know whether it's telling the story or even if it's just the attitude or whatever it might be. That's really a big part of it. That's why I think being invisible, quote unquote, is the best thing to shoot for as a narrator.
Now, a couple of questions. If you're reading a text that has multiple characters, are you changing your voice for each character, or no? Because I've heard people do that and do it quite well, and then I've heard people do it and utterly fail. And of course I've heard wonderful readings by people who just read the text. They didn't try to transform their voice for different characters.
Right. You know, generally what I do is I try and make a distinction and, you know, do characterizations, hopefully without taking it over the top. Because I've heard those, I've heard instances of both of those things that you mentioned, where you know, someone's doing a character and you're just not buying it.
Yeah. Okay.
Generally, in fiction, the majority of it right now, people are doing the character voices. So
Okay.
I'm pretty much following the market on that.
One audiobook I own is a collection of Dennis Lehane stories that's read by Stanley Tucci, who's a great actor, and short stories, of course. I think their collection was Colorado, and I think one of the marvelous things is pacing between short stories. I mean, they're really read. Each one is read, and it seems to me, at least listening wise, that the stories are read at the story's natural pace rather than just being read. How much, I don't know, do you think about that or concentrate on that when you're doing a reading? Because when you, even if you're just doing all Lovecraft, if we're going to move from text to text to text, certain things move at a certain pace, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. I think what you have to do is what's called getting off the page. I mean, I've heard narrators also who don't put seemingly as much stress on the acting aspect of it, and they sound like they're reading out loud. And you know, for I don't know, a calculus textbook, that, you know, undoubtedly works. But
Yeah.
if you're if you're delivering a dramatic situation, a scene, you have to take all that into account and just make it sound as real and natural and true to what the author was trying to portray as you possibly can. And it has to do with tempo.
Exactly.
There's also the arc of the story. That's why I always pre-read a book before I do any recording, because you don't want to get 6 chapters in and find out the guy was supposed to have a Japanese accent. You don't want those kind of surprises.
Let me tell a little story. The guy who reads my novels, Oliver Wyman, he's
I
so
think
busy.
more than one person reads your novels.
No, but who does the audio versions. He does do characterization, and but he does not have time to read the books before, so he does them cold. So when he picked up Reanimators for the first time, he said, "Oh, it's a British, it's a New England accent. I'll do it in the style of my friend David Ogden Stiers, who does Charles Emerson Winchester III." Well, he gets halfway through the book and he's reading, and he gets to the part where Charles Emerson Winchester I he appears in the book.
Oh no!
And he just loses it. And apparently he lost it for like an hour or two and couldn't record for quite a bit of time. And then sent me this whole email just detailing this whole thing. I found it very amusing that he literally does not have time to read the books, and as a consequence, this kind of stuff happens.
Wow. Yeah, those are the kind of surprises that you really don't like, especially if you find out you've done something that's going to make you have to go back and do it all over again. That's it's cheap insurance to read it first.
Yeah. Follow up to one of Joe's questions a minute ago about voicing different characters. Do you find it, in that respect, easier to read the typical Lovecraft story where there isn't a lot of that, or does it matter at all?
For me personally?
Yeah, well, with a Lovecraft story, you're not typically, there's not a lot of conversation in a lot of them. Let's put it that way. So it's not a he said this and then she said that type of story.
Yeah, it's not like reading Joe Pulver, who is an extremely experimental writer and actually has a couple of stories that are almost.
Oh, Joe froze.
He meant total dialogue.
With Lovecraft.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
with Lovecraft, it's more,
Yeah, so with the lack of dialogue in most Lovecraft stories, is that somewhat easier in that respect? You don't have to worry about voicing different characters, or does that matter at all to you when you're doing it?
It's easier in that it takes less preparation, I think. Because if you're doing character voices, I really like to analyze the character and see if I can figure out who he is, what he's thinking, why he's saying whatever he's saying. What tone of voice would he say that in? Be the kind of guy who would, if he's in an argument or a situation, does he get excited? Is he when he's angry? Is he quiet? I like to make these decisions based on whatever the author has told you in text, and kind of deliver it that way. So it takes a lot more preparation.
So do you typically have a conversation? I'm echoing somewhere. Do you typically have a conversation with the authors before you read their books and get their take on how it should go, perhaps?
Sorry, Mike, we got a glitch on this end.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Okay, there you are.
Okay. I think I'm echoing somewhere, but Google Hangout's kind of moody, as I often say. I just asked if you always have a conversation with the book author before you read before you start on the book.
I generally don't. I'm certainly open to it. no one has made a point of doing that thus far. So generally, what I'll do is take the manuscript, read it through, and then send them an audition of 15 minutes or so to see if they think I'm on the right track. If they have any suggestions at that point, they'll certainly bring it up. I'll also deliver it to them maybe one chapter at a time, so so I have another set of ears on it, so that if I'm wandering off the point somehow and don't realize it, they can correct me. But I've been pretty lucky so far, and not having to make a big discussion over it.
How long have you been doing this? How long have you been reading audiobooks?
I guess about 16 years. Yeah.
When you first start, I would imagine, I'm guessing, but I'm guessing that I'm right, that you're pretty sought after now. But did you have to?
Busy. Nobody's chasing me down for autographs. but
Well, you haven't been to a Lovecraft convention then, I'm assuming, because I think that you would be chased down for autographs.
Yeah. That's right. You went to Necronomicon this year, did you not?
Yeah, we all did, or most of us. It was a lot of fun. Yeah.
I may make it to the next one. I don't know. I never made a point of doing it. How did you find that experience?
It's the second one I've been to. Niels Hobbs, the guy in charge, does a wonderful, wonderful job with it. These guys can comment on it too. They were there. Pete got drunk. It's your typical Necronomicon.
Wait.
So Pete gave a wonderful trivia contest.
Yes, that too. I was trying to bring up the important things first.
To be clear, I got off the plane, I got in the car, and they handed me a flask. It's not. I did not go looking for alcohol. Alcohol found me. Okay? It's not my fault.
It's never your fault, Peter.
That's what my 4 ex-wives say. But
well, Necronomicon and the H.P. Lovecraft Film Festival, I think, I'm sure you guys would agree with me, I think Wayne would make an excellent guest. I don't know if you know how popular you are with Lovecraft fans, Wayne. They love the way you read the stories.
I think I get Lovecraft. That's another thing where I think he's easier for me to read than some other things, because I get him, and I think anyone here that's familiar with the genre is certainly, it takes a certain kind of mentality to get the guy, and I think you guys get him. It's just a matter of understanding where he's coming from. So I mean, that rings a bell with people.
Yeah. Guys, do you have any more questions for Wayne?
Say again?
I was asking these guys if they had any questions for you.
If someone wants to hire you, how would they go about it?
Go to my website, or if you're familiar with ACX already, if you've published audiobooks before, you're familiar with ACX, so you can do a search for me on there, and we'll talk. It's pretty easy process. Once we determine it's a good match, then I kind of described the process before. I do an audition and submit it to you chapter by chapter, and that way you get to sort of keep me on track, and that's about it, really. It's as easy as that. No mysterious process.
Yeah, your website is waynejune.com, I believe, right?
Yeah. You can't miss me on the internet. If you put Wayne June in, you're going to get me, or you're going to get June Wayne. So.
Let's see here. You've done Lovecraft. You've done Poe, mostly horror. You done any science fiction, anything else, or is it almost all horror?
Almost all horror. Done a couple of science fiction type things. I think I did some stuff also for that company I mentioned before, Audio Realms. We did some stuff out of Weird Tales magazine. But,
Yeah.
I think I'm better at horror than I am at hard science fiction. Although I'm a fan of that as well.
Yeah.
Is there anybody? I mean, as a writer, there's things out there that I haven't written that I would like to, if all things were equal. Is there anybody you'd like to read? Do you have any dream book or writer you'd, if you could, you'd read?
I like Ray Bradbury. I've read a little of Thomas Ligotti, if you're familiar with him.
Oh yes.
Yeah. I edited a tribute anthology to him that won the Shirley Jackson Award. I know Tom. Yeah.
I would love to get my teeth into some of that material.
That would be a good match. Don't you, Joe?
There's a lot of classic authors that I think I would like to do. I'd like to perhaps do some August Derleth.
Yeah, Ligotti would. I think that's a great idea there. It's a great match, and I don't think any. I think maybe Morgan Scorpion will read one of his short stories, guys, but I don't think he's got any audiobooks out there.
No, Tom doesn't have anything yet.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Well, definitely, if you're thinking about it, definitely check on ACX. There are thousands of producers and narrators there, and if you submit any of your manuscripts you'll get a lot of responses of people giving their take on it, and if you find a match, it's a great way to go.
Are you listening to any audiobooks now or recently? Do you still listen to them a lot, I guess is a better question.
Yeah, I do. Now I'm listening to The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, done by a narrator named Simon Vance, another masterful narrator.
Is there a lot of competition in this field?
The way things have been going with technology over the past decade, anybody with a laptop and a small padded room can produce books. So there's a lot of competition, but there's also a lot of room out there. I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's a great thing for the industry and for audiobook fans. Audible has grown, especially since they instituted ACX. I think I read something where the number of audiobooks produced in 1 year has multiplied exponentially. It's not even like doubled or tripled. The whole industry is just booming, and I think it's great for producers. I think it's great for authors. I think it's great for publishers, and it's great for the people who like audiobooks.
Yeah, it's great for readers, and you don't have time to read a book, but you have a long commute, and there you go.
Yeah, when I was on the road, I would often have 2 or 3 audiobooks on cassette that I would listen to in the car or in the bus as we were driving, and it's just a great way to pass the time. And of course, they've done surveys of audiobook aficionados. Where do you listen? And it's it's right across the board. You know, some people listen while they're just while they're commuting. That's a big one, or at the gym, or you know, doing housework. I think it's just a great way to take your mind off the fact that you've got to do the dishes and vacuum the rug. It's you can activate your mind while you're doing mindless tasks.
Yeah, I listen a lot when I'm going to bed as well. Can't get to sleep right away, and listen to a few chapters of an audiobook. So Audible's got this great thing, like I said, where you can, I think it's just like $20 a month, and you get a couple of credits a month. You know, it's a lot of audiobooks, especially the popular ones, will cost $25, $30 if you would just buy them outright.
Yep.
So it's a pretty good deal, especially with the amount of audiobooks my family goes through.
And Audible's great too. If you happen to download something and you know, you've got a problem with it, you hated it, you can send it back and get a credit. So yeah, they're pretty good about that.
So WayneJune.com for any authors out there watching or listening to this. That's the best way to hook up with you.
Yeah, and I do all the social media stuff too. I'm on Twitter and Facebook and Pinterest and whatever the hell else there is. I'm pretty much on anything. So trying to cover all the bases, invade as many minds as I possibly can.
Do you have any books coming up that you can talk about yet that aren't out yet?
Working on a book by the author Jason Brandt there that I told you about. That will be out shortly. I've also got you mentioned John Prescott. I've got another one of his in the pipeline. I have about 15 books that I've promised to do at this point, and it's just a matter of digging in and getting them all done.
Well, then, how long? There's no average book, I suppose, but you know, your average novel length, maybe. How long does it take you from start to finish before you're done with that book?
It
typical
depends on how much you know, research has to go into it, or how much preparation has to go into it. But I think the industry standard is somewhere around to finish 1 hour of finished audio. It takes about 6 man-hours. Read it once first, record it, edit it, fix any problems, master it. You know, by the time I'm done with the book, I've experienced the whole thing more than 6 times. You know, I mean, I've had some productions that have taken me 12 hours to do a finished hour. So, you know, if you're working on a 20-hour audiobook and it's something that requires that kind of work, it's it's a full-time commitment. You know?
So obviously you do all the editing and all that technical stuff yourself.
Yeah. Yep. There are folks out there, or if there is, you know, someone who's not interested in doing all the technical work of it, there are people you can farm that work out to that do great too. You can also get in touch with them through ACX. So.
Yeah. You're a big fan of audiobook or not. Who are some of your favorite horror authors, you know, besides Lovecraft? And who have you read lately? I know you mentioned Ray Bradbury.
Yeah, I've been reading him since I was a kid too. I think, of course, there's Stephen King. I remember the first time I started reading Salem's Lot when it first came out. You familiar with that book?
Yeah. Yeah.
Believe it or not, I think I actually slept with the light on for a couple of days. One thing I noticed about that particular experience too was, you know, I'd been reading, like I said, like my dad's science fiction books. Everyone, A.E. Van Vogt, Isaac Asimov, Robert Heinlein, and reading all that stuff as, you know, 10, 12, 14-year-old kid. There's, of necessity, references within the story to things that happened, you know, decades before I was born. You know, a lot of them meant nothing to me. Stephen King, when I was reading him, was one of the first authors that was, I don't know, of my generation, I guess, where some of the asides he would mention, there's, I don't know, a Creedence Clearwater Revival song on the car radio. You know, well, boom.
Right.
I understood that. I know what that was. You know, I could hear the song in my head. And I think that's probably why that particularly affected me that way, besides being a, you know, particularly creepy and great vampire story, very atmospheric. It also managed to make kind of a personal connection with me, I don't know, culturally. You know, I could understand where he was coming from. He was talking about my time instead of me reading something that, you know, had cultural references to, you know, things that happened in the 40s and the 50s.
Yeah, I can appreciate that. First major, I at first wasn't a big Lovecraft fan. I worked my way into it, but James Wade has a story, the Silence of Erica's on, and she's a singer, she's in a band, it's San Francisco, it's the late 60s, you know, they're playing in the Electric Onion. I mean, it was perfect, and I got it. It spoke to me, you know. Everybody in the audience had hair down their ass, and that kind of connection makes a big difference. I admire a lot of writers who were, many were dead before I was born. And there are things in the text, and you know there's more there, but you're not of that culture and of that time. You know, reading Jean Ray, you know, and it's something set in Paris in 1923. You know you're missing things.
Yep.
I mean, the depth of the writing, and there's all these things that would add just layers. So yeah, it's really wonderful when a text opens up because it's of you. You know, and the other thing with King, of course, being every man, you know, because you're probably near my age, maybe a little younger. This was us. You know, I was from the inner city, and that wasn't. It was a small town, but I still got it. You know, I was still just a regular kid, like that regular kid. That's really cool. And
Yep.
and yeah, it is fun when you see things like when, you know, an hour ago you heard CCR is in what you're reading.
Speaking of Stephen King, have you read or listened to his, I don't remember which collection it's in, maybe Pete or Rick will remember, but it's a Lovecraftian novella or big short story, whatever you want to call it, N, just the letter N. It's recent, last 5 or 6 years, so maybe not. But I bring it up because it's a really great example of how a great audio talent can add an extra dimension to that story. You know, you reading it, I love the story, first of all, but reading it, listening to it, it conveyed, there's more of an atmosphere of terror, the way that it was done, than just simply reading the text.
And what was the name of this one?
N, just the letter N is the name of the short story. So, and I can't remember which collection of his it's in, of Stephen King's it's in, but it's in the last 4 or 5 years, I believe.
And that's a Lovecraft story, you say?
Lovecraftian themes would be
Oh,
more
okay.
accurate.
Remember who the author was?
Stephen King, yeah.
Oh, Stephen King. Okay.
Yeah.
No, I must have missed that, but it sounds like something I'd want to look up. You know
Yeah,
who?
the nice thing about, sorry,
There?
Rick, were you going to say something? Oh, Rick's not here. Um, the other neat thing about that story, and I noticed they've had audio readers do it several times in his story. There's 3 different protagonists. There are 2 males and a female, the main protagonists, and they had a different. It's the same, all in the same story. They had a different reader for each one of those people. Kind of neat. So, but anyway, yeah, you're into Lovecraft just like we are. Check that story out. So.
Now, Wayne, have you ever done a recording that had a female protagonist or a major female character?
Yeah, a couple of things I've done have female characters, and there's a trick to that too. I think, you know, when you're a baritone, there's no way you're going to fool someone into thinking that that it's a female speaking. But you know, there's little tricks you have to be careful with it. I think you might soften your tone, raise your pitch a little, and just you want to get the idea across that you're supposed to be representing a female. But you know, I forget what the production was. There was some, I think it was like an Agatha Christie story or something I was listening to once. I don't remember who was reading it, but whoever was reading it was very good. Doing accents and different characters, and then he did a female character, and he sounded so much like a woman that it was striking, and it you know, I almost objected to it in a way because it totally ruined that invisibility I was talking about. You know, it took you out of the story and away from the story, and started making you think like, wow, how does this guy do that voice? You know, and you definitely want to avoid things like that, I think. So I don't try to impersonate a woman. I more try to suggest, and I don't know. I think I've been fairly successful at it. I haven't heard too many complaints. I've read some complaints. Listeners don't buy into it, but it's a personal thing. You know, you can't please everybody. You just got to try and do your best to you know, interpret the work and do your best on it. And those that like it will like it, and those that don't won't. So.
Well, before we let you go, Wayne, I've got a couple of last questions from the audience. Simon wants to know, does Wayne have any tips for getting a good sound setup for Skype or your PC? I see he has a padded wall set up there, and I assume it's for sound reasons, not sanity. So.
Yeah, what you want to do is treat the environment so that you're not dealing with reverberation and sound reflections.
Are you using things like Sonics?
Yeah, I think what I have is just what they call eggshell or egg crate foam.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Lined a little booth I have with that. And you don't want reflections, reverberations of your voice, like when you walk into a bathroom, how it sounds like.
Yeah, the reverb. Yeah.
Boom. Yeah. You want to eliminate that. Also, you want to be aware of sounds from the environment, like cars going by, neighbors mowing the lawn. I've been forced into breaks many times because of that type of thing. Planes going overhead. You've got to be conscious of those kind of noises and know to either edit them out or better still pause while they're going on and then pick up when you can. So, I mean, I've seen people doing recordings even, you know, just bringing a chair up to an open closet door. It's full of clothes. It's going to mute any vibrations or any reverberations and give you a dead sound. That's good enough. And you buy a good microphone. Get a halfway decent, even a laptop these days will do it. There's free programs out there. One in particular called Audacity, which is a great audio recording and editing program, and it's absolutely free. If you want to move into more expensive things and actually invest, they have standalone digital audio workstations that are made by a lot of companies. Yamaha, Roland, Tascam, and it's really not all expensive at all. A recording studio that would have cost you 10 or 15 years ago, you know, would have cost you tens of thousands of dollars. You know, you can do for a couple of grand now. You can get a good mic for you know, $200 to $300. You get a treated recording space and you know, a free program and a decent laptop, and you know, you're off to the races.
And our other question is from Leah, who says, I'm trying to figure out Audible's guidelines for mastering and translate to something that I can understand on layman's terms. Being self-taught, I feel like I'm hitting a wall with the smaller technicalities when it comes to eliminating undesired frequencies. So the question is, are there any sources of information that I can be directed to?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a studio called Edge Studio, EDGE Studio. They have locations in New York, Washington, D.C., Connecticut, and they operate also online. You can get conferencing with them. You can get teleconferencing with them. They've got 1 million courses in every aspect of voice acting and voice recording, from commercials to audiobooks to corporate audio production. And they've got a fellow there named George Whittam, I believe, Whittam, and he runs a service where he can actually help you build up a home studio from scratch, and then help you tweak it in terms of you know, if you're not able to hit the mark in terms of you know, production standards, he can determine what you're missing and show you how to fix it. So there is help out there, and the good news is it's really once you get over the technical terms and start to figure out actually what's going on, it's not rocket science. It's easy.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Wayne. And again, for everyone listening, if you have not heard Wayne reading a Lovecraft story, I linked to The Dark World of H.P. Lovecraft on the YouTube video if you're watching this later, and I'll try to do that elsewhere as well. But yeah, you do a phenomenal job, Wayne. I just really enjoy listening to those. So thanks for coming on the show and talking with us.
I appreciate it, and like I said, I hope to, if I can determine there's enough interest, I really hope to, maybe I'll do a Kickstarter one of these days and get a full catalog of the H.P. Lovecraft stuff out there. I really kind of gravitate toward him, and I think he's a manic depressive after my own heart. So.
Thanks, Wayne. Appreciate you being on the show. And something tells me that if you do that Kickstarter, it'll most likely be successful. You got a lot of fans out there.
Yeah, great. Maybe I'll give you a direct message sometime. Pick your brain on how to get that done.
Yeah, no problem. Well, again, thanks for being on the show. And for any authors out there, again, Wayne's website is waynejune.com. So simple as that. So
Great.
thank you, Wayne. And all you got to do is close the browser, and it'll kick you out. So
Awesome.
thanks for being on. Talk to you soon, I'm sure.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks. Hope Rick's okay. Notice he left suddenly.
Did he get booted off? I got booted off like 3 times.
Well, maybe. He's still got the link to get back in.
I froze up here 3 or 4, but within 3, 4, 5 seconds it came back, because a couple of times I was about to close it and come back, but it did come back. So
yeah, it did.
I guess
So it's
Google is
happening
being our friend tonight.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't get booted off, but I am out of beer.
Oh
I
no!
can't help you there.
So
How will you make it?
I'm not sure what's
Googling
going
up is
on.
definitely being moody tonight. Yeah. So.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen out there in Lovecraft eZine chat land, Pete Rollick is going to stand up and leave the room for 37 seconds.
Ladies watching, please do not cry. He's coming back.
Pete will be back. He hasn't been kicked off. He hasn't been suspended. He just needs to. His throat's dry. This is an emergency.
You guys, you take the tiniest little thing and you blow it up out of proportion, like your writers.
You're the one who said,
Pete,
I'm out of beer.
Pete, we do not want people to commit suicide when you exit stage left for 1 minute. We're just filling them in.
I'm muting you. I'll be.
Okay. You come back.
Okay.
Now, just a reminder, we are going to give this away, or Matt is giving this away, to be specific, to someone later in the show, and he's also giving away the Idolaters of Cthulhu. So I will do that from now. Everyone's getting kicked out. I will do that drawing a little bit later in the week from now on, probably on Fridays, maybe Saturdays, just to give everybody enough time to listen or watch the show that can't watch live. So anyway, speaking of audiobooks, Cthulhu Lives. That's going to be available on Audible by about this time next week, Solomon?
It will be. It's been through the quality assurance process. It takes like 10 days past that point before it actually gets onto Audible. But it should be, I'd say, maybe next week. By next week, it should be there. Yeah. Right now, it's available on Bandcamp, or you can get to it through our website. And to be honest,
It goes to it, folks, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, what? Solomon?
It's probably going to be cheaper on Bandcamp. Audible sets their own price. We have no control over how much they charge.
Oh, okay.
If you have a membership, you'll get it as one of your membership books. But if you have to buy it separately or through Amazon, I have no idea how much they'll charge. But we're charging $8 on Bandcamp.
And I think you told me, do I have this right, that if you have an audiobook and you keep it exclusive to Audible, what's the difference? What's their policy between keeping it exclusive as opposed to selling it elsewhere as well?
If you keep it exclusive, they give you a 40% royalty. If you don't keep it exclusive, they give you a 25% royalty. Originally, I was like, well, the first book we did, I thought, it's just not worth it to lose 15% of the royalty. But then what I discovered is it's not necessarily that easy to sell the audiobooks strictly through Audible. It just prevents you from, for example, they give you some codes so you can give it away through Audible, but you can't just give someone a copy to listen to because you have this exclusive agreement and you're not allowed to do it. So, and some people don't want to go through Audible. Like, I have friends who I said, can I just give you a copy? And they're like, oh, but if I do this, I have to go to Audible. I have to put the app on my whatever.
So if I were to put, say, Autumn Cthulhu on Audible, you're saying that I can't, like, say, give you a copy to listen to?
You would be able to give me a code. They will give you 50 codes to give away and 50 for Audible UK. And I think if you use them all up, you can ask for more. But what people can do with that code is they can go to Audible and download it for free. If you feel happy with that, then that's good enough. But
you can also listen to it in the browser on their website, though, too. You don't have to listen.
But you still have to. Okay, dumb question for the non-tech people who I represent. But you still have to.
We try to get every demographic we can, yeah.
Haha. You still have to download something to access this Audible, yes? I'm not
well, you
talking
can,
about...
as Mike said, listen to it on the website. You could just play it directly on their website. But let's say you want to take it with you on your iPod or your whatever. You will have to download it somehow, and you can't actually download it. You'll have to put the Audible app on your device in order to play it.
Okay.
Because it's the DRM that they have will prevent you from actually taking it. You can use it through their software. Some people don't like that.
All of that said, I will have to say that I've been very happy with Audible. I've had that membership for 6 or 7 years now, which is like 200 years on the internet. So,
I mean, I think that a book that you do, because you have a solid platform for the kind of books that you publish, I think you have a good chance of doing well through Audible, although you don't have any control over how much they charge.
Right.
So that's a kind of a downside. So we've done one just through them. We decided to do one that was through them and through someone else. We still wanted to go through them because, as Wayne June said, they're the biggest retailer of downloadable audiobooks. And
basically it's Amazon.
And they link it on the Amazon page with the book. So more people know that it exists. Whereas if you just, I mean, where would you have it? I mean, you could have it on your website.
That's really great because I've often looked at a book on Amazon and noticed it was available on Audible and thought, I'll get it on Audiobook instead. You know. But anyway, Cthulhu Lives is available as an audiobook now. I believe the book itself came out last year, and I've listened to some of it. It's a great listen, and I linked to it again on the YouTube video. But just Google Ghostwoods Books and audio, and I'm sure you'll come right to it. Ghostwood Books, Cthulhu Lives audio, something like that. So. And I think next week or the weekend, in a future show very soon, we're going to give away a copy of Cthulhu Lives, the audiobook, right? Or download.
Yeah. We can give away both the paperback and the audiobook if you want.
That'll work. So Friday, The Gods of H.P. Lovecraft became available. For those who do not know, let me put you on screen. There you go.
Where are you? Bigger.
What? Oh.
Everybody's saying that to me.
I don't know what the implication of that was.
The Gods of
I can't see.
They all say that too. It's terrible.
Stop it.
Gods of H.P. Lovecraft is edited by Aaron J. French. It's got all kinds of great authors in here. Bunch of them. Check it out. The same day, this is published by Journal Stone. On the same day, they also published X's for Eyes by Larry Barron is now available to the public as well, and there's a Kindle version of that. Is there a Kindle version of Lovecraft? Yes, there is. So, anyway, those two are available now. I posted about this on Friday at the Lovecraft eZine website. The other two books I posted about are published by Chaosium, and they're available right now. Kindle edition is available right now, and the paperback is coming
Pre-order
soon.
print.
Okay. Yep. And Legacy of the Reanimator. Both available on Kindle right now. So if you can't wait to read them, you can go get them right now. Legacy of the Reanimator is for the 30th anniversary of the movie.
Yeah, I made a comment on, I guess in 2014 that, hey, 2015 will be the 30th anniversary of the movie, and I think within minutes I had a publisher calling me up and saying you gotta do this, and then within half an hour or so I had people begging to write stories. So, never having done anything like that before, I called my friend Brian Sammons, who's a great editor. He's published a lot of my work, and he said, "Would you please help me with this?" He said yes, and the rest is history.
And here
Great stories by Joe and Rick. Rick ties it firmly into the Lovecraftian future history.
here's the book, Casey.
Yeah, I got you up on the screen, right?
But stories by Christine Morgan, Molly Tanzer, which, it's Herbert West in Love. The original story by H.P. Lovecraft. Richard Lee Byers, the fantasy writer, contributed a story called The Horror on the Freighter, which I think Rick would love.
Yeah, yes, and strangely connected to my story in a weird way.
It is. Completely unplanned. Ron Schliffett and Glenn Owen Barras included A Man Called West. We did 2 round robins that are incredibly hard to find as they were published in Crypt of Cthulhu's. Herbert West Reanimated, which includes stories by Price, Cannon, Murray, Burleson, Charles Hoffman, and Price again. And then Herbert West Reincarnated, which includes stories by Rod Heather, the infamous Brian McNaughton, some guy named Joe Pulver, Price again, C.J. Henderson, and
Cisco.
incredible Michael Cisco.
Yeah, see, this is interesting because I just thought, okay, Pete and Brian put together a bunch of Reanimator stories. That's great. What I did not realize until a few days ago was that you were making these stories from Crypt of Cthulhu available that are so hard to find.
Yeah, and I guess
The original 2 round robins.
right. And from what I've read, and
I still remember the day of Bob's, and we were sitting there. We used to get together at Calum clubs, and Rod Heather was there, McNaughton was there, CJ was there, Cisco was there, I was there, and somebody mentioned Herbert West. And Bob started talking about the original round robin and how much fun that was. And he just, like I said, there's C.J. Henderson, and there's Cisco, and there's Brian McNaughton, and, Bob's like, we should do one. Do one what? It's like, oh, we should do round robin. And right then and there, and the order was figured out, I don't remember the order offhand. I think I followed McNaughton. I don't remember.
How many stories were total?
It was like whoever was going to do the first part, it's like, I'll write it, I'll email it to you, you write your part, and kick it forward. Nobody saw or knew anything until they opened that email, and it's like, Here you go. Have fun.
Right. So, Mike, if you
So-
count the two round robins as individual stories,
I hadn't read Reanimator, and I hadn't seen the film, and I went, I don't know anything about it. I'm not doing it. Cisco's like, yes, you are. But, no, you're doing it. Okay?
Sorry, Peter, what were you saying?
So, fun, scary.
Yeah, go ahead, Pete. I was asking about the number of stories.
I kind of, what cracks me up is I half thought Pete would do a third round robin for this.
I don't know. Joe, can you hear us? No, I don't think you can hear us.
all right.
I
So,
lost audio.
Yes, we know.
Yes, we know, because Pete's been dying to say something.
no, I just find it amusing that it's like talking to my grandfather, you know.
Yeah, so I was asking about the number of stories in both round robins.
So if you count each round robin as a single story, there's 11 stories in the book. But in the two round robins total, there's 12 stories by 12 writers.
Right.
But Robert Price is 3 of those. So it's a pretty big book. I mean, it's got a lot of stuff in it. Probably about 30 pieces.
30 stories in Legacy of the Reanimator?
Yeah. Yeah, including the original by H.P. Lovecraft, which I thought you had to put in just for continuity's sakes.
Oh, yeah.
Even if you read it, you may want to look up something in the original story.
Right.
That's where it's good to be in there.
And I think I had a really good time putting this together. It was a labor of love on my part because, from what I understand, an attempt to bring those round robins back into print has been done 2 or 3 times before, and always failed. So
I don't ever remember hearing a word of it until you brought it up.
well, there you go. It's out.
Well, I think Crypt of Cthulhu was going to be republished. I won't name any names, and that didn't happen for whatever reason.
Yeah. I think CJ had sent me a note about 2 other attempts to republish this stuff, and simply not being able to get everybody on board.
If you're a C.J. Henderson fan, you have to read the Round Robins because they tie into his novel Eternity of Self.
Right. Yeah. The Round Robin is a prequel to the Herbert West novel An Eternity of Self,
in which Teddy London fights Herbert West.
Right. Now, when I set out to do this, I thought I was going to republish all the Reanimator stories. Ha! I've left out one by Robert Price because it's in his personal collection that he published through Mythos Books. Tim Curran's
Revelations.
Right. Tim Curran's other Herbert West story would have added another 30 or 40,000 words. There's one by Don Webb, which is absolutely wonderful.
Well, which begs the question: Are you thinking of doing another, Legacy of the Reanimator 2 in a year or two?
I would not. I've been making notes, and I think that if we were to do it, I would also like to do another round robin, just like Joe said.
Yeah.
One of the things I liked about when I asked for people to do stories in this, I asked Richard Lee Byers and Rick. These are not guys who normally write, zombie mad scientist stories. But I wanted to bring people in who don't normally do this kind of stuff to see where they would take it, and I was pleasantly surprised. I might want to do that again.
Can you explain the concept of round robin for anyone who doesn't know what that is?
So the first round robin, and it's the one that I always cite to, is the Challenge from Beyond. That's the one that comes to mind the most often. I think there was a couple more before that, but essentially it's a group of writers who get together, and each one of them writes a chapter, and then hands off the whole thing to the next writer in the process. And I've done a couple of those. One for Joe, one with Brian Sammons on Superheroes versus Cthulhu, which I think the eZine published.
Yeah, I forget the title on that, but
And Rick helped out with that one too. And so you can't really plot anything ahead of yourself because you don't know what's happened before. So, and you usually have very limited time to do anything. So you've got to think very quickly on your feet and get it out as soon as possible so that the next guy in the process has his chance. The longer you sit on it, the more time you steal from other people.
Yeah, well, like I said, with the second round robin, let's say Bob went first. I don't remember after all these years because it's, the late 90s when that was
Rod
done.
went first.
Oh, okay. Rod wrote his, sent it to the next guy who didn't know anything at all till he opened his inbox. And at every juncture, the same thing happened. You open your inbox, there's what had been written before you. I think we were running on about 10 days each, because, time-wise.
in other words, the guy at the end has it the easiest in some respects.
Yeah, the guy at the end is batting cleanup.
Right.
But
and I think this is where, I would disagree with Mike calling that the easiest, because I've batted cleanup on a few of these. And
It's the most difficult.
It's not, because I've been in a number of round robins. Of course, most of the ones I was a participant, I instigated. So I always went first because I already had an idea.
Well, I did say in some respects. It's,
in some
you also
respects,
have to read all of that that went on before.
It depends also on who goes before you. Because when I was in a round robin, I realized I had to set it up so somebody could reach an ending for this.
right.
But the whole thing is now, like with the second Reanimator round robin, everybody set out to okay, sucker, now it's your turn.
Right. Top this.
Yeah, I mean, and while we were sitting there discussing this thing, that was actually vocalized. It's like, what'll be fun is to try
Set the
to
piano on fire.
really screw the next guy coming. And that's why I was like, I don't want to be any part. No, thank you. But Cisco's like, nope, sorry, you're sitting here, you're in.
Set the piano on fire and then yell, follow that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's the fun. And, you open your inbox and you read part 1 and you go, yup, and you read part 2 and you go, yup, and you read part 3 and you go, okay. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, wait a minute. Oh, this is me? Holy shit. What do you do with this? And you run around in panic for 5 minutes, 20 minutes, 2 days, and then all of a sudden hits you and, and you start typing, but all of a sudden the wheels start going, oh, wait a minute, I got to do something for the next guy.
Yeah.
And you have to find all the little plot lines that were fed to you.
Right.
You have to take those. You can't just let them lie.
If it's written like a mystery, depending, when I was next to the cleanup guy, I said I better clear up a lot of the mystery.
Yeah, I mean, you're definitely not supposed
do a lot
to
of action to clean up the conflict.
Yeah, I mean, when it's your turn, you don't go, oh, he reached over and turned the alarm clock off at 6 a.m. and was glad that nightmare was over with. That's
bad
you can't
writing.
do that. You can't get out of the corner you're painted into that way. There's no get out of jail free card.
So those round robins are available and plus other stories, and Legacy of the Reanimator. If you're a
Yep.
Lovecraft fan, and you are because you're listening, right? So this past week, you got 4 new books. Gods of H.P. Lovecraft, edited by Aaron French, with a lot of great writers in it. X's for X's for Eyes by Larry Barron. I really enjoyed that. That's a novella. Again, Legacy of the Reanimator, and edited by Pete Rollick and Brian Sammons. And then Casilda's Song, which we've talked about a lot, edited by Joe.
There's another one that came out too.
Well, I'd like to talk about this one first.
Oh, sure, go ahead. That's great book.
Yeah. Sorry, greedy. Plus, I want to sell a couple. It's called Casilda's Song. It is based on Robert Chambers' King in Yellow material. As Casilda is so prominent in the play in Chambers, plus, the original King in Yellow book opens with a poem entitled Casilda's Song. And I've always been entertained by who is Casilda? What is her song? What does she have to say? So, we have all women writers examining the King in Yellow material of Chambers. In recent years, there's been a lot of talk about Lovecraftian literature being an old boys' school. And as everybody knows, I'm an advocate of the King in Yellow. There's hadn't been a lot of King in Yellow material written by women. Anne Schrader, of course, has written a handful of marvelous King in Yellow poems, some of which were "Write me a poem, write me a poem." But I wanted a bunch of fiction by women. I wanted to hear the female side of what this stuff is. So Elise Tobler, Nicole Cushing, Linda Rucker, Helen Marshall, who just won the World Fantasy Award, Mercedes Yardley, Cheshire Burke, Ursula Flugg, Allison Bird, Lucy Snyder, Anya Martin, Anne Schrader has a piece of fiction, Nadia Bolkin. There's a wonderful novella by Elise Tobler and Damian Angelica Walters. Molly Tanzer's in here, and S.P. Miskowski, who I'm sure a lot of people know. And it's ladies' night out in Carcosa. And I think this is a wonderful companion volume to A Season in Carcosa. Those who enjoyed that, I think will find a lot to like in here. And fans of, let's say, The Repair of Reputations, which is considered by many as Chambers' best King in Yellow story. That's what Nadia Bolkin decided to look at, and did a fantastic job. Nadia Bolkin's not a big name, but she damn sure ought to be. And I think Mike can attest to this. The lady swings a mean bat. She really is a wonderful author. Molly Tanzer, I mean, stop and think about the work that Molly has done in the last few years. Amazing. A lot of the ladies who contributed to this have won Stokers and won Shirley Jackson Awards. I'm really proud of the work they brought to this. And you can get it for Kindle. They have a Mobi thing, whatever that is, another electronic thing. pre-orders on the print. Great cover art by Steve Santiago, who's done a lot of great work for the eZine. I'm really proud of the book. I was privileged and honored to get to work with these contributors, many of whom I've worked with in the past. That's it. I just wanted to harp a little bit. So everybody go buy it. Anybody who likes, if you have a sweetie that's a King in Yellow fan, this would be a really great Christmas present. And yes, I'm the editor, but I'm not. Trust me, anybody who likes the King in Yellow will enjoy this.
And
Okay.
Matt, you said there was another new one out?
Yeah, believe it or not, there was a previous Kickstarter for a Delta Green book, and as part of that Kickstarter, it was like Tales from Failed Anatomies. If they got enough support, they're going to make another book of stories, and that other book of stories is now out. It's called Extraordinary Renditions.
Oh, that's out now. Okay, good.
Yeah, and the author list includes Cody Goodfellow, Kenneth Hite, Dennis Detweiler, Greg Stoltz, Adam Scott Glancy, John Tynes, Shane Ivey. So it's got a really nice list. It's funny. There's a little bit of a misprint in the beginning. There's a I didn't know if this was ironic or not. I still can't figure it out. It's by a different press. It's a book for this girl's daughter about. The book is dedicated to her. So open up Extraordinary Renditions. It says, this book is dedicated to our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. And there's pictures of little animals and stories about these animals, and it goes on for about 15 pages. And then the rest of the book starts.
Seriously?
I'm not kidding. It's like,
Wow.
Look, you get these pictures of little...
That's got to be a mistake.
Yeah, but, you know, it's like you can read two kinds of books all at once. It'll make you happy.
Wow. That's
Maybe
weird.
that's just a printer's error.
I think so, but I don't know.
Maybe it's just that copy.
I wouldn't put it past the Delta Green guys to be ironic or anything.
Yeah, you never know.
Cody Goodfellow himself, his best mythos fiction is being collected by Hippocampus for early 2016.
Yep.
Not out yet, but may be available for pre-order.
Hippocampus also, as you have pointed out.
Actually, Cody made a post on Facebook sometime today, and I thought he said 9 months.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Like a baby.
Yeah. Pretty sure he said it would be 9 months.
Of course, you know, with Cody Goodfellow, you don't know what kind of misbegotten offspring, but that's another issue.
Well, you know, he did spend that time in Dunwich, so, you know.
One other thing I wanted to say before the show gets out of filter. If you, you know, Lovecraft loved astronomy. So this is your astronomy announcement for the day. About between 9 and 10 p.m., go out, if you've got a clear view of the east, for the next 2 days or so, the Geminiad meteor shower is taking place. And if you don't have a lot of light pollution, you may be able to see up to 1 to 2 meteors per minute. Of course, when they had the blood moon eclipse, it was raining here. And now that we're having the Geminiad meteor shower, it's raining here.
But in other words, the stars are right.
Yeah, so in other words, if there are fans out there who want to... it's going to happen for a few days, but apparently the peak will be tonight.
You know, anytime I hear about meteor showers, I think of Days of the Triffids.
Well, yeah, we just bought a Christmas tree today, you know, because nothing celebrates, you know, the birth of our Lord and Savior except killing a tree.
Mm.
Anyway.
Well,
So I
wait a minute.
I blame
There is
myself.
one good reason to kill a tree. That for these. Other than that, let's be nice to trees. But
What?
I blame Victoria.
so I wrote
It's like you think I'm making all this stuff up.
Aren't you?
what's today, the 13th. 2 days ago, I wrote because I would like to compile a list. You know, not a complete list, not a list of okay, here's everything that was published in 2015, but just kind of a best of, at least in my humble opinion, weird fiction novels and anthologies from 2015, weird fiction and Lovecraftian. So I asked for help on my Facebook page, and I got a huge response because I said, A, I don't want to forget any, which is easy to do, and B, miss any that I'm not yet aware of, which is easy to do, and it became very obvious just how easy it was to do the more comments I got. Did you guys see this post of mine, and how many
Yes.
people?
yeah, I was laying there. I wasn't feeling good. Cat's
Yeah,
comment
so
is my list.
yeah, this is nuts. There was a lot published, and a lot of it I was aware of, but there were some that I weren't. That was not. Sorry.
How do you know what to include?
What?
You include everything, or just what you like the best?
That's what I'm saying. I'm not including everything. But I asked for as complete of a list as possible, so I make sure that whatever, I've read quite a bit of it, but what about anything that I've missed?
Mm.
And it's very
But do
subjective.
you only want good things or anything relevant?
The only good fiction will be fine. No, what was your question? What'd you ask?
That was it. That's what I thought he was asking you. How do you know what to include? Just the things you liked?
Well,
Or
no, as I said,
everything?
what I want to do every January is do a post at Lovecraft eZine and say, here's what I've enjoyed the most out of this previous year. XYZ novel by John Smith I really enjoyed. And maybe, I don't know what the final number will be, but not a completist list. And, if you're out there and you disagree with me, that's fine. But you can't buy everything out there, so I'd like to help narrow it down a bit for people and say, this is what I like. So,
Does anyone else feel like this is a bit like Misprints Theater 3K and Mike is the movie and we're the little people making crack comments about whatever he says?
well, I'm only the movie when I'm talking. When you're talking, you're the movie, and I'm on the little screen.
Well, just this minute I got like, oh my God, Mike's the movie and we're the small silhouette in the front making wisecracks.
They're doing a new Mystery Science Theater 3000 with Felicia Day as the evil
Yeah,
scientist.
yeah, they are.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah,
I
that's
don't know
pretty
who
cool.
Alicia Day is, but I like Mystery Science 3000, so.
Yeah, so I guess if you guys look at that list, email me sometime in the next week or so. And
Okay,
yeah, go ahead.
I'm glad you brought that up because I gave Kat 4, 5, 6 titles, but there were so many listed already. I just stopped because I thought I'm only repeating what's already been typed here. Well, some,
Yeah.
and from as far as I'm concerned, geez, there must be 20 really worthy books, and those are just, I think, the cream of the crop this year.
Yeah.
What were you gonna say,
I will.
Pete?
I will mention one. It needs a good editing because I'm pretty sure Perdido Street Station came out.
Oh yeah,
15 years ago.
That cracked me up. Perdido Street Station is what?
It's older than my kid.
Yeah, I was gonna say it seems like it's 10 plus years old anyway.
Yeah. But if a little bit of a quick plug, Tales of Cthulhu Invictus, which was a Golden Goblin Press Kickstarter add-on. That's a really good book, and I'm not saying that just because I'm in it.
I don't think
It is
anyone put that in this list, so I'll have to.
It's buried down in there.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Ed Erdelak mentioned it, but yeah, that one. I do a great story in that one, and so does Willem Michael and Christine Morgan.
Hey, Pete, did you ever read the rest of A Lonely and Curious Country?
Yeah, I find that book to be incredibly good.
Yeah. Well,
I don't understand why those stories didn't sell.
Well, they may not just have
Well, they may not.
They may not have fit into a particular anthology.
That was what happened with my story. So, it's odd. But honestly, Matt, if you were to do one of those every year, I think you'd have an easy job.
I'm game. It's up to Sam Gafford because he fronts the money.
Yeah. But it should be relatively easy to say, hey, it's October or August. You've got 2 weeks to give me a story that you haven't been able to place anywhere else. Done. Nothing new. Just your leftovers, the remnants.
See, I have a question about this too because I've actually been kicking around. You laugh, but I've been kicking around. What would the next title be? And the one.
Really long.
Well, the one that comes to mind, and it's already been used as the name of a game.
The Hills Rise Wild.
Yeah, The Hills Rise Wild. West of Arkham, The Hills Rise Wild. And I think it's a great passage of prose. But is it illegal or
No,
but
title's not copyrightable.
But the thing is if you want to make it a series, what is it? The end of it is Lonely Country?
Yeah.
What if you do something like the Hills of the Lonely Country? You keep Lonely Country maybe as your centerpiece, and you adjust things around it.
That
so
just
this
makes
is
too much sense.
Huh?
Or you can just put a number.
No, I don't like that either. I like the. There's so many nifty passages of Lovecraftian prose that could lend themselves to be a book title, and there'll be a couple of these, and
pick a different book.
Yeah.
Right.
Salome, to answer your question. Okay, so the Lovecraft 200,000 followers, and my thought is, these people aren't. There's people like Matt who buy and read a lot of books, and the rest of us really. But a lot of Lovecraft readers and fans that are following the site or in general, they can't pick up everything out there or don't have the desire to. So I simply want to just do a little bit of a narrowing down process and say, these are the novels and the anthologies and the collections of Lovecraftian and weird fiction that came out in the previous year that I really enjoyed. And, your mileage may vary, but this is,
right.
If you're following the site, then maybe you care about what I think about it. So that's simply all it is. And the other thing I want to say about it is, I am not short on things to read. So I am not saying this out of a desire of saying, please send me free books, because I don't need them in that sense. So with that said, I can't put your book on this list possibly, or like the book a lot, if I can't read it and if you haven't sent it to me. So if you're a writer or I get emails from people saying, hey, you should check out my book, and they'll link to it on Amazon.
And you're like, screw you, buddy.
Well, not quite that harsh, but I'm thinking, you need to think this through. But media mail does not cost much.
Yeah. The other thing I will say on that note is that I picked up a book in August from a very well-known publisher, and I read it in August. And here it is in December, and I got that book in the mail to review. And now I had to go back and read it again. Because I read for pleasure very differently than I read for reviewing.
And while we're talking about this subject in general, because Pete's edited, and Salome edits, and Matt's edited, and yeah, I've edited a little bit too, I guess, maybe.
And some kid called Joey Pulver edits.
Yeah, that Joey Pulver, he edits. And people are, sometimes people want to be in books that, I don't know, maybe Matt edited or Joey Pulver edited. Now, some of us are like starving writers, and we don't get to buy tons of books. And we don't get to read everybody. So, if you want to be on the radar of an editor, you can't assume we know your name or know your work. Like Mike's saying, hey, get a hold of us. Send us a copy of your book. Maybe we're impressed by you. Maybe we go, hey, this person's really talented. Maybe some of us...
Lock yourself in an elevator with us and read us the entire book before letting us out. That is not a good marketing strategy.
I wouldn't do that with that really hairy guy. He's not good about that kind of stuff. He's got claustrophobia, and he's not comfortable in elevators. But, you want to expand your horizons. You want to have a chance to make an impression on Mike Davis or Joe Pulver or whatever. Send us your book. Maybe we like it, maybe we don't. And the other nice thing about guys like Mike Davis and Frolic and Matt and Joe and Salome is, if we read something and it doesn't push our buttons, we don't use our oxygen to say, hey, we didn't like this, or this is no good, or whatever. There's too much good to shout about. So we're kind of available.
If I don't like your book, I'm probably going to assume if other people liked it that it's me. And while I may not push it to all my followers, I'm not going to blog about it either and say, man, this book's a piece of shit. That's not me. Specifically with me, if you want your book considered, for me to push it at Lovecraft eZine, you can send an email to lovecraftezine@gmail.com and ask for my mailing address, and Alex will return the email and give it to you. Kindle copies are okay. I like Kindle, but I'll read it if I need to read a Kindle version. I prefer print, but it's not a deal killer, I guess you'd say. I like getting Kindle books from Amazon, because no matter what happens to my Kindle, it's saved at Amazon. I can download that book again on another device. If someone sends me a Kindle book in an email, it's not quite the same. And last thing I'll say on that is, please don't send me PDFs. I can't read a PDF book because I have to. You can't read PDFs very well on a Kindle, first of all, and I can't sit in front of a computer for hours to read a book on a laptop or a PC. So.
Well, and on that note, Mike, there's another reason to send me a real book.
Reminder, it helps you remember.
It does. I rarely pick up my Kindle anymore. I like having that hard copy because it sits on the stack, and I can move it to the top of the stack because it might be important, which is what happened last week. They sent me this book. I'd read it before, so I could, familiarize myself. I was able to skim it again and get myself back into the groove. But it gives me something to put on the shelf.
I'm sorry. The other thing too
with put on the shelf, and I can give it away or I can sell it. And you might say, "Oh, well, that's kind of crappy to do," but the reality is, I get paid about a penny a word for a review, which is not prorate. So the bonus that comes out of also is owning the book or being able to resell it or give it away.
Yeah, good point.
Well, the other thing too is here's a physical book.
Right.
I open the package. I touch the book. I've already developed a real relationship with the book. I looked at the cover. Hey, this is a nice cover. I probably looked at the table of contents. Or if it's a novel, I probably went to the back cover and took a peek at the back cover matter. Visually, tactily, I am establishing a relationship with you by holding your book. If it's in a Kindle, it's hidden in a folder somewhere. I don't see it. I'm not touching it. I didn't flip to the table of contents and go, let's see here. Just Beyond Her Dreaming. Wow, that's an interesting title. Oh, page 69. Oh, Caroline tucked an unruly strand of coarse brown hair up under her pink knit hat. Wow, that's pretty cool. This in my hand is an invitation to a dance. It's harder to resist. That thing that slips electronically into a Kindle, it's one of many. And if I don't seek it out intentionally, I don't even know it's there.
Rick, were you going to say something?
Here she's walked into the room. I see her. I smell her perfume. She's reached out her hand. We've shook hands. It's unavoidable this way.
Well, I was just going to say that, I mean, the reason for a Kindle, it's cheaper and it's convenient to store.
Oh, true.
But you don't have the relationship. I can't skim a Kindle, or what happens very often, I'll read a book or an anthology, and we'll then have somebody who is either the author of the book or a story in the anthology, and I've got to refresh my memory because maybe it's been a year, maybe it's been 2 years. You can't skim a Kindle.
Yeah, good point.
Nope.
Now, I'm sorry, Rick, go ahead.
I was saying it's not easy. It takes me a while to remember. Oh, that was the story Laird Barron had in this anthology.
Yeah. Now, I like Kindle. I've said that before on this show. I do. I'm just pointing out, and the rest of you are pointing out. I'm pointing out to any writers out there and publishers and editors that you send a physical copy of the book, and it's harder to forget that the book is there, and you increase your chances.
Well, it's also a commitment on the part of the author.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, I'm willing to spend money on you to
Right.
get your attention.
That's a good point.
Yeah,
And
there's somebody who's, instead of just, they can push a button and send you something, and they've forgotten you in 30 seconds. Here's somebody who actually wants you to be acquainted with their work. They want you to sit down, spend time with their creative labors. Right there, that says something. That's going over to, that's walking up to a girl that you want to ask to dance or something. That's making a connection. How much do you want to dance with that girl? You know?
Yeah, and on that note, I'm not saying either that every review copy you send out, or every copy you send out hoping to make it on a list or promote it,
Lost your mic.
Your voice
Lost
dropped.
you.
Mike.
Oh, did it?
Yeah,
Oh, can you hear me now?
barely.
Okay, well, that's weird. Um,
There you go.
boy, Google Hangout is actually.
Yeah, it's getting nasty.
No, I think my only point was that you could send a copy of a book to a reviewer that 2 people read their blog, and you can send it to others that when they get that book, they can do more for you. So if you got to send out a Kindle copy, be aware of who you're sending it to. Last thing I want to say is on Autumn Cthulhu, the Kickstarter, it's going really well. I've not said this anywhere before now, but I got a couple of pretty cool stretch goals lined up, and the first one is if we reach 13,000 S.P. Muskowski, we're going to add a story by S.P. Muskowski to the book.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Great.
well, we all know she's a great writer. As far as
Phenomenal writer.
the autumnal themes go, thanks to Matt, I read a story by SP in October Dreams 2. Matt gave me that book. It's a really, really great story. I was really, really impressed. So if we reach 13,000, we're going to do that. If we reach 16,000, Robert Levy, am I saying his last name right?
Robert Levy? Oh, man.
Robert Levy.
The glittering...
What?
The Glittering
I was
World.
gonna say the Glittering World, his novel, was one of the year's best things. Great work.
Yeah. Anyway, if we reach 16,000, Robert is going to write a story for Autumn Cthulhu as well. So, and if/when we reach those goals, I'll announce some more stretch goals. So, but those are, if now, I'll put those on the Facebook page and on the Kickstarter page soon. So I just wanted to say.
Like,
What?
when you make a post on Facebook, you want to tag us so we're aware and we can start spreading that. I mean,
Yeah.
those are 2 significant additions to the book as far as I'm concerned. That's great news.
So anyway, I just wanted to say thanks to everybody who's given to the Kickstarter and shared. So I appreciate it. Matt's
There's
giving away
still time, right?
I'm
Oh,
sorry.
yeah, there's like 30 days left.
Yeah, I think we'll make it. It funded in 4 days.
No, I mean, people still have time if they still want to contribute. Just because you
There's
made
30
it.
days left. It was a 40-day Kickstarter, I believe.
Yeah.
And I did that because I didn't want to end. I started the Kickstarter on December the 2nd, and I did not want to end on right at the end of the year.
Right.
So I gave it an extra 12 days or so. So yeah,
Yeah,
we
we've
got
got like
30 days
days
left. Yeah.
You still have to reach those stretch goals, though.
Yeah.
Not to fund it, I don't. Not to fund the whole.
Not to fund it, but to get those extra 2 stories.
Yeah, I mean, stretch goals aren't anything you quote have to do, but I just think it's a fun thing. If we make those goals, then these are a couple of really great writers to add, and if we go beyond that, there are several more that
I'm just pointing it out in case somebody knows he's going to buy the book.
Right.
And it just said, well, it's already funded. I don't have to contribute to the Kickstarter. There are 2 excellent reasons for you to contribute, because then you have a better product.
And if you've already given to the Kickstarter, and you're like, okay, I paid at the $20 tier, but if I can get my friends to contribute, I'm not putting out any more money, but I get 2 more great stories, or at least. So anyway, I won't beat a dead horse, but those are the 2 stretch goals, and I'll be announcing those. Matt's giving away A Lonely and Curious Country, and giving away what was the other one?
Idolaters of Cthulhu.
Idolaters of Cthulhu.
Sorry.
He wants Idolaters.
I already announced it.
Anyway.
With another copy, I'll send it to you. Like,
That's okay. No.
Can I plug something else?
Yeah.
Let's see, which volume is this?
Oh, 12.
12. Tales of the Shadowman, number 12 came out.
Awesome.
Unfortunately, the first non-Pete Rollick issue in a long time.
Sorry.
But it has at least three. Just to know what this is a collection of anthologies featuring characters from French pulp literature, interfacing with characters from American and English pulp literature, and there are at least 3 mythos stories in this.
Wow. No, I love that anthology series. It's where I got my first big break with my story of Phantom of the Opera.
The Herbert West one.
Yeah.
Which is in
Reanimator.
It was in Reanimators.
Yep.
Well, if you want one of those books that Matt's giving away, please send an email to Lovecraft eZine prizes at gmail.com. Lovecraft eZine prizes at gmail.com, just like it sounds. And please put the book's title in the subject of the email. You can put whatever you want in the body of the email. And then on Friday or Saturday, I'll use random.org to choose a couple of winners, and I'll send their addresses to Matt. So thanks for doing that, Matt.
I doubt if I get the addresses that late, just so you know, these won't come in before Christmas, I don't think.
Right.
Just holiday planning.
So anyway, thanks for watching, everyone. Thanks for listening, and I think we're doing a show next week, but we'll figure that out later on in the week. Thanks for watching.